everyone! Usually I have a very clear theme to my videos, but for this week's video, I kinda just wanted to have fun. And because I've been drawing so many Animal Crossing characters, I kinda got the hype to play the game again. And since I don't own Wild World and one of my Switch controllers was broken, I decided to play New Leaf, and I am so in love with this game. I've been enjoying playing New Leaf a lot more than I initially did when it first came out. And based on what I just said, I think you're going to have a good idea of what I'm going to draw today. I also decided I want to give my Crayola coloring pencils another go and kind of dedicate another video to them, sort of. So, what am I gonna draw today? If you guessed my favorite villagers currently living in my New Leaf town, then you are correct. Because that is exactly what I'm going to do today. At first, I thought about drawing all of my villagers, but then I realized I think you can have a total of like 9 or 10 villagers, which would be way too much to fit into one page or one video. And it would probably take me all day to draw 10 villagers. And so I decided to draw 3 of my favorite villagers that currently also live in my New Leaf town. And I did consider being a little more creative than I have been in my last Animal Crossing videos. But then, oddly enough, I decided I actually want to draw a little bit of scenery because Animal Crossing is a really pretty game, and I mean all 4 of them. So the characters I decided to draw are Bubbles, Cody, and Chèvre. Chèvre? I don't think those 3 are best friends in my game, but maybe I'm the one hosting the picnic and that's why those 3 have to hang out together now. Bubbles is actually the character that moved into my town most recently. I've probably seen Bubbles before somewhere, but she kind of slipped my radar, so she was pretty new to me when she moved in. And I immediately felt a sort of kinship with her because we have the same fringe. Also, she seems super girly, which makes me really happy because hippos are not necessarily considered like a girly kind of animal. So I was a little worried that Animal Crossing is going to lean into this and have all the hippos be, well, not girly. But Bubbles is as cute as she can be. I love her very, very, very much. And I don't want her to leave my town. But at the same time, Bubbles moved her house into a place that I would not consider ideal. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. And I kind of have the same situation going on with Chèvre. So let's move on to Chèvre because Chèvre is my goat. Chèvre and Nan, I believe her name was Nan. Those 2 goats were like my absolute all-time favorite villagers when I was a kid. Like I had such a strong bond to them. I love these 2 so much. And Nan was actually one of my OG, very, very first Wild World Animal Crossing villagers. And then Chèvre moved into my town and I screamed, she was so cute. I think it took me a little while to recognize that these are supposed to be goats because their head shape and faces just looked so abstract to me. But at the same time, I feel like the horn should have been a dead giveaway. But anyway, back to Chèvre. As much as I love her, I really hate her English name, or I guess her French name. Like, my fiancé speaks French and he told me how to pronounce it, but for the life of me, I just cannot mimic the sound of it. And you know what makes this worse? As a kid, when I played Wild World, I played it in German. And in German, pretty much every character has a different name. And you want to guess what Chèvre's German name is? It's not Chèvre. It's also not goat or Ziege. Her German name is Annette, which I think is such a perfect, cute name for her. It still has a bit of the French twist to it, but it's like really girly with the E-T-T-E ending. I don't think there's any goat pun in it, but I think it suits her so much. And Annette is kind of like a mixture of Odette and Annalise from the Barbie movies, which I think just makes it even better. And then there's Cody. Now, I will admit, I'm not usually a fan of the sporty characters, or I think jock type is what they're officially called. And that is because neither am I sporty, nor do I care about sports in any sort of way. But Cody is perfectly, beautifully blue. I kind of have to convince him to stay in my town forever. Until maybe one day I get a beautifully blue bear. Anyway, Cody's fur color is very pretty, and he's a bear, which is amazing. And he placed his house in a perfect, cute little spot. Everything in my town is currently still under construction, but just by coincidence, I almost managed to get like a cute little street down here of houses. So that makes me very happy and very appreciative of him. I think the picnic blanket in New Leaf is pretty ugly, but I really like the idea of it. So I definitely do want to build one somewhere, but I just don't know where to put it just yet. For now, the least I can do is draw it. And then of course I also added just a few New Leaf Town stuff, which is why you have the cute little orange tree in the background, which oranges are not my starter fruit. But a long time ago when I first binged this game, I covered my entire island with orange trees because Mama needed some money to pay off her loans, and to this day I still didn't pay off my loans. I also have blue hydrangea bushes because I really want to plant them in my island, and I've been collecting them for a few weeks now, but I just don't really know where to place them yet. I've also read online that they can be quite fickle, like if you plant too many of them next to each other, then they will just wilt, and that would be awful because it took me a really long time to collect as many as I have, and I think I don't even have like 10 blue hydrangeas yet. And then I also add some blank bushes. I don't think New Leaf has blank bushes without flowers, but I thought it looked kind of cute and it breaks up the monotony that we would have if I only planted blue hydrangea. So, you know, they're just there for a little variety. And then also, instead of adding a blue sky into the background, I thought it would be way funnier to just add the cliff wall of doom. Nobody ever talks about them, but I always feel like they're such an oddly iconic part of the Animal Crossing games. Or I guess at least until New Horizons came out. Then, you know, when it comes to colors, I decided to use my Crayola colored pencils again because those are my most recently bought art supply, and I haven't really gotten a chance to use them much yet. And what can I say? 24 colors is a lot of colors, but it's not enough colors. I had to layer and mix so many colors, and it might not end up looking like a much of mixing going on for you, but I hate having to mix and match my own colors. I also decided to add more gradients into this, or definitely more gradients than I usually do, just because I feel like New Leaf has a lot of gradients going on, especially in the leaves of the trees. And overall, again, I'm not very good at matching colors, and I'm a little limited with only 3 different shades of green, so I figured I'll add the gradients. It'll match a little more with the in-game assets, and it might also help me fake more color variety. Also, I had a mental breakthrough, and this is probably not really gonna mean much to anyone, but the entire time I made my first video about these Crayola colored pencils, something about the way it feels to use them felt super familiar to me, but I couldn't pinpoint what it is. And today I had that mental breakthrough, and I had that eureka moment, and I figured out what it is. The lead in these pencils feels exactly like these erasable Faber-Castell pencils, and oh boy did I hate those pencils as a kid. For, well, guess what? The same reason I have issues with the Crayola pencils. They're just too soft, and I need to feel that kind of like scratchy texture sensation when I rub my pencil on paper, because otherwise I am like lacking a level of feedback and my brain just can't comprehend that. Also, just in case you got hyped about the fact that Faber-Castell has erasable pencils, it's been a very long time since I used those pencils last, but throughout my entire childhood, those erasers never worked. But one more thing I would like to throw in here is that funny little rock wall cliff that I thought would be really fun to include in my funny little picture. It was a pain in the butt to color in. It was surprisingly hard to find reference images of this wall, but once I had them, I realized that they are pretty much the exact same color as the human character in New Leaf, which made me a little uncomfortable once I realized that. But it also meant I had to color in a very large area with the peach pencil. And I developed a little bit of beef with the peach pencil, and I also developed a little bit of beef with the tan pencil. Because the peach pencil is severely lacking in pigment, and no matter how much I layer and how hard I scrub it across the page, It's not gonna get any darker or brighter, but it's fine for now. So then I switched to the tan pencil to add a little bit of the color variety that these walls need. And something that I didn't realize in my first video about these pencils, they don't layer well. They layer perfectly fine for gradients if you know how to do gradients. But if you actually want to layer them for, let's say, combining colors, oh boy, you're in for a bad time. These pencils just did not want to layer. I probably have indents for 10 pages to come just because I had to push so hard just to get these ever so slightly darker lines into the cliffs. And now you might be thinking, but Bobby, why didn't you just use a darker brown than the tan? Well, let me tell you, I tested it and not even remotely the right shade of brown, and it's way too dark, even if I just very lightly try to layer it. I also had a similar issue with bubbles and the tree in the background, where these were all colors that I did not have perfect matches in my set. Or actually, I didn't even have colors that were similar in my set. So I had to mix these and it was such a pain. I praised these pencils so much in the last video and now they're kind of starting to let me down a little. And that makes me really sad. And just to finish off this illustration, I also decided to add shadows because I think the shadows in New Leaf are actually quite hefty, especially if you compare them to New Horizons where everything is like super duper soft. The shadows in New Leaf are mostly gray, but if you really examine them, they have this like hint of dark blue or dark purple to them. And since I hadn't used my dark purple in this picture yet, I decided this would be the perfect time, so that's the color I chose for the shadows. Which, by the way, dark purple is just in general my favorite color for shadows. And I think it worked out perfectly. Is it the exact same color as in-game? No, absolutely not. But anyway, I think this is fine. We are fine. I'm totally not losing my mind because this is taking me way longer than I would have liked it to be. And here we have my finished illustration for today. It's quite cute, if I may say so. It's really odd, but something about it kind of reminds me of art that I used to see a lot in like the early internet days. I feel like when I was a kid, it was way more common for people to upload art that was made with colored pencils. While I feel like nowadays, everything is either digital or done with alcohol or acrylic markers. Which, to be honest, I also prefer those mediums. But it's fun to switch it up every now and then. But anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think about my drawing. Feel free to tell me about your New Leaf town or your favorite villagers. And if you're interested to know more about what I think about the Crayola colored pencils, I made an entire video dedicated to them last week. So you might want to go check that out. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider to like, comment, and subscribe. It would make me very happy. And I hope to see you again next week for another video. Goodbye!